Little chicken man. Here we go. So we're gonna make some French onion soup, and we're gonna do a twist. Instead of the beef broth, which is really rich and delicious and yummy but can kind of crush you, we're gonna do some mushroom broth and chicken broth. All right, to get the adventure going, we've taken 2 onions. We've cut them from the root end to the tip, fairly thin, and we put them in with some olive oil, and they're on low heat. Low heat is the key to sweating. The key to the soup really is the onions. So the onions need to caramelize, and that is not a hot temperature process. Caramelizing is you want the sugars to convert and to brown very slowly over time and develop some really deep flavor, and that's going to happen. Low and slow is your friend. This is about a 20-minute process. You're going to want the onions to become translucent, and then after they are translucent, they'll very slowly start to caramelize. This isn't going to happen rapidly. Don't turn the heat up. Be patient. This is another one of the things we really like to do a lot when we want to add flavors, but we don't want to have woody stems or specks of herbs at this point. So we take thyme. You're just going to twist the thyme a few times, and then you're going to put it in this really cool tea bag. Fold over this little tea bag. These are organic tea bags that we usually buy when we're traveling, and they're really great for adding flavors. So we're just going to lay that on top of that, and then that flavor will start transferring into the onions as they. Now that I've added my tea bag with my thyme in it, I'm going to put the lid on for a bit, and that's going to help to further infuse the flavors. I'm also cooking some wild rice. That's 4 parts volume of water to 1 part wild rice, so 2 cups to a quarter cup. In case I went too fast, I took 2 cups of liquid. A quarter of that cup of that I used some of the mushroom broth I'm going to use in the soup, and then wild rice was a quarter cup. Bring it to a boil, then put it down to a simmer, and we're just going to let this go low 45 minutes. All right, time to check in. Wow, the aroma is amazing. You can really smell the thyme, and now we're going to see if our onions have started to caramelize at all, and they're just on the verge. This is a really rustic soup, and the beauty of this is that you really could add in anything you would like. So today I'm going to add in some shiitakes because I had some shiitakes left from a recipe earlier this weekend, and so I'm going to clean these up and slice them and set them aside. Of note, you don't have to follow exact amounts with this recipe. I've added in some shaved garlic that'll start to soften and caramelize with the onions as well. Again, you can use leeks, shallots, any kind of allium you would like. Our wild rice is starting to soften and pop a little bit. I added in a fresh bay leaf to again get some more aromatic flavor. Our onions are just on the verge of starting to caramelize, probably within the next couple of minutes. Big decision, mushrooms quarters or slices. I save the mushroom stems. I can use those for making stock, and are great to just kind of throw in the freezer in a Ziploc bag and then have for when you use a chicken carcass and you make stock. All our ingredients are coming together. The wild rice is just about done. Sometimes you have to add a little bit more water according to the doneness. We'll remove the bay leaf and then set this aside until the time it's appropriate to add it to our soup. I just added a tiny bit of water, probably another quarter cup, to the wild rice, as it's just a little still chewy and I want it to really be cooked through. And now I'm going to remove the thyme sachet from the onions. Onions are caramelizing, so this is the point where you are going to pretty much hang out near the stove because you want to make sure that you don't burn the onions because you've invested. Now we're at about 35 minutes, a little longer than the 20 I had first thought. To run a quick errand, and now I'm back. I turned the stove off and everything just held perfectly, and now we're back at it. So we've got some caramelized onions. Again, this is just a really light golden color. I'm going to let them get a little bit darker, and then we'll start building the soup. Our onions have achieved caramelization, and so they're soft, melty, really beautiful. I've added a little bit of salt to taste, and then we also have our wild rice is done, and now we're going to start building our soup. All right, we've pulled the onions out. We're going to just add a little bit of olive oil or butter into the pan, and then we're going to add in our shiitake mushrooms and a little bit of salt, and we're going to cook those down, and then we'll add the onions back. Add in a nub of some good butter and a little bit of salt. I already put some olive oil in, and we're going to just let these go down and cook, and the flavors that are in the bottom of the pan are going to join with them. Put the lid on and just let this go for a few minutes. All right, we're gonna take the lid off. These pans are amazing because they really retain a lot of the moisture when you're cooking. And now we're gonna just add in some white wine. And what's really great about the wine is that that's going to lift the fond, which means the bottom of the wine's done its job. It's loosened all of these bits of flavor from the caramelized onions. And we're gonna add in the packet of thyme back in, so that'll continue to put more flavor. And we're gonna turn up the heat and simmer it for just a minute. All right, it smells pretty amazing in here right now. The wine has done its job. It's basically just really penetrating inside of the mushrooms. We've got the onions here and the wild rice. Those are gonna get added in about. All right, I'm gonna turn the heat down and we are going to go back to low, and we're gonna add in the other ingredients, and I'll be right back. Mushrooms, onions, wild rice. We still have about half the wild rice left. We'll use that for something else. And now we're gonna add in the organic mushroom broth. Soup is basically where we want it to be at this point. We can decide if we want to add any chicken broth or if we want to keep it vegetarian. Either way, it's going to be delicious. We'll add some salt and pepper. We're going to let this simmer for about 20 minutes and then we'll work on the bread and the cheese. We're simmering away, tasted it, decided there's zero reason to add any chicken broth. The mushroom broth is fantastic. It's got a lot of depth of flavor, complexity. With the mushrooms, onions, and wild rice, we are set for some pretty fantastic onion soup. Soup is ready. We've got it hot and bubbling on the stove, and we've taken some of my sourdough bread I make and we've toasted it on both sides. Because of the size of the bowl, we've cut them in half, and then we're covering it with raclette cheese. Okay, so now we have our cheese ready. It's important to put the raclette cheese all the way to the edge of the bread. I see a little spot I need to cover, otherwise the toast potentially will burn, and it's important to toast the bread, otherwise you're gonna get soggy toast. All right, so we've got our bread on top of our little broiler pan, and then we're gonna put it into the little convection oven on broil, and we're gonna keep an eye on it because we want it to be super bubbly, and we are heating up the bowls at the same time as well. All right, so we're broiling away. We're gonna keep an eye on this, and we want it to look similar to the top of French onion soup if you were making it in a crock or a bowl where you were gonna put the bread on. This way we're just gonna float the crouton on top. Our raclette toasts are coming along. We're gonna put them back in. We're not gonna go far because you can see that cheese oozing down the sides. That's what we want. We want it to get some color, but we do not want to burn it. We are at pretty much the magic happy moment of the whole process, which is making the toast with the raclette on top of it. You could use Gruyere or Swiss, but we use raclette. It smells amazing in here. Right, I'm using a small convection oven, so I'm just going to turn it off. The element goes out right away. If you're using your stove at home, that might not be the case, and then you should pull it out so you don't burn everything. We're going to just let these sit here for a moment while I fill up the soup. Soup's in a warm bowl, ready to go. We've got some chives we sliced up, and we've got the cheese, which is really oozy and melty. And then we're just going to float the cheese in the center and put some chive on top. All right, finished product. And super light salad with just olive oil and lemon juice. But the real star is the soup.